Hey guys, what's up? It's Zeke here, and welcome back to another episode of A to Zeke Sports. And today, I have a special guest with me to talk about The Last Dance, the documentary about Michael Jordan and the 1998 Chicago Bulls. Hey Tim.
Hey, how you doing, Zeke? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, sure thing.
I've been enjoying
So,
your channel. I've been liking a lot of the sports that you have, and it's been helping me keep up. So I really appreciate you having me on.
thank you. So, we're here to talk about The Last Dance, the documentary that both of us have been watching, and we've really enjoyed it so far. And there's a lot of new stuff that you and me have both learned. But for you, you grew up in the 80s and 90s, and you watched the Bulls. And so tell me, what is one thing that has stood out to you in this documentary that you didn't know about and you thought was really interesting?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The Chicago Bulls were a legendary team, and being born in the early '70s, I was old enough to appreciate them winning their first few titles late in my high school career, and then on into college. So it brought back so many memories of seeing these guys perform. But I didn't realize just how much drama was going on behind the scenes with their management and what's his name? Krause. What's that guy's name?
Jerry Krause, correct.
Yeah, Jerry Krause. That guy. I mean, he's not coming off looking very good in this thing. So that's one thing that stood out to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from this documentary. I didn't know. I've learned about a lot about Michael Jordan as a person and his teammates. I've liked how the documentary is focused on the team and what was going on with that, and had episodes focusing on individual people. Um, I did not know that Scottie Pippen was the sixth highest player on his team, even though he
Six
was probably
six what?
paid player on his team.
Oh, they did say that, didn't he? Yeah,
Yeah,
that guy. They seem to be. What'd they do? Sign him to a long-term contract?
they did right before Michael Jordan um, made that big contract that started a lot of other big contracts around the league. And Pippen had his contract for a while. So he actually had a surgery that he could have had during the summer before that last season. And it was his way of protesting, like, how much he was underpaid. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep. So before we talk a little bit more about the team, I'm really interested in your thoughts on the actual production of the documentary itself, as far as how they've been showing it, how they've been unfolding it. What have you thought about the structure of it?
I was really glad watching this that there were flashbacks to earlier seasons. And as we see this last season progress, we watch kind of the Bulls dynasty before that. So at the end of the sixth episode, which is the last one that's been put out there, we still have four more to go. They're entering the playoffs in their last season, but it's been flashing back this whole time, and they're about to their third championship that they won in the flashbacks. And I think it's cool how it progresses as when they flash back in time as the season progresses. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's been neat. And then I really appreciated, like you just said, the deeper flashbacks to some of the first seasons that Jordan was on the team.
Mhm.
I should have remembered just how awful they were, but it was a good reminder.
I also thought it was interesting that Michael Jordan was actually interested in signing with Adidas instead of Nike. And it's crazy to think about how big of an impact his shoes have had on just like just now that NBA players now have their own shoes, and it's like all a big deal and stuff. And he's like a global brand now. And
Yeah, and
we,
just
we
in go ahead.
and we might have seen that with Adidas, but now Nike's making NBA jerseys now, and like that probably elevated Nike to another level.
But yeah, I mean, they were just coming on the scene. They were a little running shoe company out of Oregon,
Mm.
and trying to, pun intended, get their foot in the door. and Jordan helped him, right? I forgot how big Converse was, and they were showing Converse with Magic Johnson and Bird and those guys being kind of the main shoe of the NBA at that time.
Yeah.
So, and then, speaking of those guys, the footage from the Dream Team there in the Olympics, that was something special. Just seeing the baton being passed with Jordan just stepping up and taking over as the number one guy in the NBA.
Yeah. And I'm really glad they dedicated almost a whole episode 5, to Jordan's time with the Dream Team, because ESPN had made other documentaries in the past, but I like how this one really focused in on some of the moments and stuff that people really didn't know about that Dream Team, and that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and then I didn't realize just how bad the blood was between the Pistons with Isaiah Thomas and Jordan, and I didn't realize that's probably what kept Thomas off the Dream Team and getting an Olympic gold medal, even though he was one of the best players in the world at that time.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting debate. This team was so stacked with talent, and John Stockton, he made the team. Do you think it was the right pick? Let's just take all this bad blood, say that it wasn't Michael Jordan's fault that Isaiah was kept off the team. Do you think John Stockton should have been the man before Isaiah Thomas?
Honestly, I'll leave that to you. I'm not as much of an expert in that field, but as far as coaching and coaching philosophy goes, team chemistry plays a lot into it. I mean, it really does. Just in a sport like wrestling, team chemistry played a lot, and that's an individual sport. I can't imagine how much team chemistry plays in a team sport like basketball. So I guess you could argue the chemistry was pretty special. But talk to me about Stockton. Do you think he deserved to be on that team?
Yes, I do. And even if Isaiah Thomas didn't really have bad relationships with all those players, I think John Stockton would have been a better fit for the team, because the team already had enough talent. And John Stockton, he wasn't quite the scorer or quite as athletic as Isaiah Thomas was, but he was great at getting steals, setting up his teammates with assists. He's actually the league leader all time in assists. So I think even if Isaiah Thomas did not have bad blood between all those players and Michael Jordan specifically on the Dream Team, I still think John Stockton would have been the better fit for the team.
Yeah, hey, those guys were mean, weren't they? They were really the Pistons. They were playing hard against the Bulls. But I did think it was interesting, and I hadn't thought of it this way. It actually inspired Jordan and his teammates to lift weights, and I think it really pushed them to become even better, and maybe push them to be one of the greatest teams of all time had the Pistons not been so physical with them.
Yes, that's a good point. That's another thing that I think Jordan and the Bulls really helped transition with the modern NBA. Like before that, we didn't really see players lifting as hard or as many weights as the Bulls did to overcome what the Pistons brought at them. But now we see NBA players lifting weights regularly, and we just see a lot just strength that NBA players need to build up, even though it's not quite as physical as it was.
Yeah. But I tell you what, that same strategy was documented then the next episode later with who was it that was so physical with him? Was it the Knicks?
The Knicks.
Yeah. That was that came right down to the wire in that series, didn't it?
It did.
What would you think of that part of the documentary in The Last Dance when they ran into the Knicks?
I thought that was good. I like how they did that, and that part of the episode started to show that Michael Jordan and the pressure he had with the media, which might have forced his retirement for those 2 years to play baseball, because Michael Jordan was a known gambler, and like the media kind of got on him for that, but he was able to overcome the media and the Knicks to win his third championships with the Bulls.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Mental toughness and mental fortitude and focus really play a lot in sports, and it
Yeah.
didn't really affect his game. He was still the superstar on the court, but he did become show some mental weakness, fragility, whatever you want to call it, in then retiring, because he just seemed to be broken by the media and not want to be around, lose his joy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He
Yeah,
lost
that's a good point.
for the sport. So, which I thought was interesting. I had never thought of um, any mental weakness there in Jordan, but it didn't show up on the court, but it did show up in life, which is was too bad. It came out in a lot of vices that he had with gambling and the smoking and drinking that we saw. It was a shame. It was too bad.
Yeah. So obviously right now with sports on hold because of the coronavirus, this is the number one. This documentary is the main attraction for sports fans right now. So obviously during the coronavirus, we're approaching. Well, we would be in the middle of the NBA playoffs right now. Um, the MLB season has been pushed back. I know you or me, neither of us are really experts on this subject, but when are you thinking?
You are Zeke.
Well, when do you think that maybe these sports will start to come back?
Oh! I thought you were talking about sports itself. You're the
Yeah.
expert. It's
Thank
A to
you.
Zeke. It's A to Zeke. Yeah, with the science of when sports will come back. I don't know. I can't guess on that, but I'm gonna throw a question back at you. Would it be what would you think if they had sports with no fans and just broadcast that on television?
I think it would work in like the short run, say just for the NBA playoffs. I know they were talking about maybe hosting them in the Disney World Resort in Florida and just having all the games there with no fans.
Why would they host them there?
Um, well, I don't think really all the basketball courts have opened up yet
Okay.
everywhere, and they don't really they can't they don't really see the need to use those spaces when there's not going to be any fans there, and not all the states have opened up yet. I know Florida has already opened up, and so they can use
Okay. That makes
they can
sense.
use that there.
That makes sense.
Um, as far as in the long run, maybe next season might get pushed back to December for when it would start. I think that's what some people are thinking, and maybe that could even shift the NBA schedule permanently, maybe to start in December and maybe end at the end of July, the playoffs.
It'll be interesting. I mean, the cathartic experience of having fans and that event is something pretty special. You'd think I'm always interested in the production value and how they'll market it. It seems like they'd have to get different camera angles and who knows? You think they could mic some of the players and have them talking
Hmm.
during the game or something? I don't know. I'd just like to see some good sports. That'd be fun. And then hopefully college football will get going too. But you know what? I don't want to get too distracted. We're talking about this documentary, right?
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about it with it? Like,
Yeah, I'm wondering what you want to see in the last 4 episodes. So it's a 10-part series, and we've had 6 episodes, right? What are you thinking that they're going to show, or what are you hopeful that they'll show in these last 4 episodes?
I would love if they dedicated a whole episode to Steve Kerr, and they're probably going to do this because of we have 4 episodes left and they're just now entering the playoffs. They had a game 7 series with the the Indiana Pacers and with Reggie Miller, and the players said that was the scariest game they ever faced. They were this close to being eliminated and not getting that 6th championship. So I think that would be awesome to see just how exhilarating and how like exciting, and I think that'll just be awesome for us to see as fans watching this documentary.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one other thing that I have to mention right now, in case I don't have time, is their coach Phil Jackson. Boy, that he really understood personalities and how to coach every individual through love and just altering different training schedules and things that they needed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't like Dennis Rodman's off-court behavior, but for Phil to let him have time off the court during the middle of the season was not something a lot of coaches would do, and I guess that's why he's one of the master coaches with so much success.
Yeah.
So it's been a great documentary. Certainly, I wouldn't recommend it to everyone with some of the language and different things that they show, but just being behind the scenes of the psychology of sport, it's been really, really fascinating to see.
Yep. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being on A to Zeke today.
Hey,
Shout out
hold
to
on.
you for coming on.
Don't kick me off yet. I got to play one more shout out for Gennadievich Golovkin. We got to get him back in the boxing ring and let him fight here soon. So hopefully it's been a good time of rest for him and he can get back on the court. So sorry,
Right.
back to the NBA and the Last Dance. Thanks for having me on, Zeke. It's been a joy, and I really, really enjoy your channel, and I enjoy listening to all your thoughts on sports. Keep them coming.
Sure
These
thing. And remember, guys, Dr. Tim Dernlan actually has his own YouTube channel. Make sure to check that out. He explores virtues and vices, and he has his book that he wrote, and he explores some themes in that, and it's pretty cool. So,
maybe I'll
Tim,
have you
thanks
on. We'll
again.
talk about virtue in sports sometime.
All right, sounds fun. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for being on A to Zeke. That's it for this episode, guys. Thank you.